about them Irish?
I can't take it anymore. I need a national championship.
This is the Four Horsemen Podcast.
And we are back. The Four Horsemen Podcast. It's your host, P Wagon, joined by the lovely Steve. And before we begin, I'd like to make a quick announcement. The Four Horsemen Podcast have officially banned Kanye West from joining the podcast.
Yeah, naturally. He was scheduled to come on this week to talk Notre Dame football against Syracuse, but unfortunately, we just figured it was better not to have him on. So
we have decided to cut all ties with one Mr. Kanye West. Anyway, how you doing, Steve?
I'm okay. I'm actually kind of thrilled that we have a 12 p.m. game this upcoming weekend, low key, just because, the last couple of weeks of summer with all the weddings that I've had, and then just kind of running around nonstop, then Labor Day, then, the wife's birthday, then a whole bunch of other stuff. It's like I have not been in my own house and watched a Notre Dame football game since week 2, I think. It's just constantly been on the road, constantly have to stream on my phone or something else. And the fact that it's going to be a nice fall day, hopefully, I mean, at this point, it's probably going to rain, just knowing my luck. But if I could just have a nice fall day where I can go into the backyard, light a fire, have a nice, set up the projector. If it's a little bit overcast, so there's no sun glare, that'd be great. I'm just looking forward to being a basic bitch and having a fall day with some pumpkin beers, might even throw in a Jameson shot, just for good measure. But yeah, so that's where I'm at. I'm cheering for a football game with a football team with a winning record as they head into a big game on Saturday, and I just get to enjoy it, hopefully.
So I, on the other hand, will be at the game for a business trip.
And why is that so important, sir?
Well, it's the first time I bought my grandpa tickets to the game. That's 1. 2, it's my mother's first ever professional football game, college or professional football game she's ever seen. 3, it's the 3rd game I've brought my wife to. 4, it's the 2nd game that I've been at with my best man for my wedding. And 5, I am bringing my one friend who says he's Irish, 50-50 if he is or not, he doesn't listen to this, to his first football game ever. That's all the karma we need. Plus, I am undefeated at Notre Dame football games. Since 2004, when Notre Dame beat Navy, I am undefeated while I am watching them in person.
That was the most important point, not to discount the 5 points prior to it, and very excited for your friends and family trip and outing. Hope you guys have an absolute blast. I've never been to Syracuse.
Me neither.
Would have loved to go to this game because you and I are both in Massachusetts. So what's that, like a 6-hour drive, give or take?
It's 5 from where I'm at, probably around the same for you. It's literally go up the Mass Pike, bang a left, and you're there.
Okay, Mass Pike, bang a left for everyone listening at home. Yeah, I mean, but most importantly, undefeated with you in the house. The last time
undefeated.
Now, when was your last game? Was it the Syracuse game in 2019?
Last game was last year, Georgia Tech, 55-0 senior day. Brian Kelly's last game at home, as well as Jay Bramlett's.
Not a big deal. But prior to that, it was Syracuse where we won 36-3. Yes. And that was at Yankee Stadium. And you and I saw each other. And we were 4 sections over from one another?
It was actually, our first year doing this podcast?
Might have been second.
No, it was definitely the first because I got fired the 3 days before I went to the game. Definitely was our first year doing that. Yeah. So.
Well, we've come a long way, amigo, and grown this podcast into something pretty damn cool. And I'm just very grateful for all that we have and all that we've built. Very grateful for all the fans. And if you guys are grateful for all the hard work that we put in, we would be grateful for you being grateful to us, being grateful back to you if you were to go and subscribe, rate 5 stars, write a review. You could even write a mean review and be mean if you so long as you put 5 stars. I understand I have a nasally voice. I hate my voice. I wish I could rip my vocal cords out. I can't, unfortunately, at least to my knowledge. So at the very least, what you can do is roast my nasally, ugly, disgusting, terrible voice in the comments with the 5-star review. But I'll kick back to you here, Mr. Wagon. I'll let you kick us off with the agenda leading into this week's pod.
Yeah, we were going to do a hurry up offense, but I had a flat tire an hour before this, so I'm a little bit peeved about that, and you don't want to hear me rant about the ineptitude of AAA. So I just wanted to bring up a point, and I think we can have a pretty open conversation about this. Notre Dame fans, and you have no idea where I'm going with this, by the way. Notre Dame fans cannot be happy with a win. They are definitely not happy with a loss. They are the most dissatisfied group of human beings I've ever had the pleasure to talk to. We won a football game. It is hard to win football games. Not to use a Brian Kelly quote, but it is hard to win football games, and we won convincingly. Am I wrong in saying that?
We won by more than double their score, so yeah.
And they still want to fire Reese. Why? Because he can't teach the quarterback how to throw the ball? We'll get into that later. We had a couple fumbles. Yeah, I get that. We gave up 22 points to UNLV. Oh, well. They won a football game. And USC lost their football game the week before, right?
They did to Utah.
Syracuse lost their football game.
They did to Clemson.
Clemson almost lost their football game to Syracuse.
Almost to Syracuse.
The fact that this fan base thinks that the Irish, with 5 games left, are going to go 0-5 is ridiculous. My biggest pet peeve, why bother watching the game if you think they're going to lose? It's in the freaking fight song. I didn't swear there, Mom. I wanted to. We will fight in every game. What though the odds be great or small? These fans are already discounting the season, saying they're not going to be bowl eligible. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. Why watch the game if you know you're going to lose? If you think you're going to lose.
Agreed. It was very strange outlook, especially for a Notre Dame team in a win where we blocked 2 punts, scored 44 points, and something that we had trouble with down the stretch, which is scoring. The last 2 drives of the game, we went 13 plays for 62 yards and a touchdown, and then 9 plays for 46 yards and a touchdown. So the last 2 series, the last 2 series. So the last 2 times this offense touched the football, they scored a touchdown. And, they actually had a missed field goal in the second half as well. So basically, this offense was in a position to score in 3 out of their 4 possessions in the second half. Yes, there's something to be said for starting faster. Yes, we have to finish stronger. But by and large, this game was always a blowout. Would have loved to see some jacked up numbers and statistics. It would have been great, but it just happens. There's games where you're not going to have a massive blowout win. It happens to Alabama from time to time. They still win like 34-10 convincingly, but Alabama has it from once in a while. It is what it is. So I'm just very baffled that people are upset that we won. It's like, yeah, okay, I would have loved to not give up 2 second half touchdowns, but the guys were kind of just hanging back at that point. So I don't know. Well,
this one asshole, and I'm not going to call out their name, says, "I'm realistic and not a dreamer wearing the blue and gold glasses." Great quote there. There's no way he means hell they're going 9-3, and you know it. If they go 6-6, I'd be shocked. 4-8 is more likely than 9-3. You have 5 followers, buddy. 1. We almost have 5,000. 2. They're going to lose to Boston College or Navy or Syracuse with me in attendance. They lost 3 games. And you know, this is the thing that I really the heart of the issue is, I think we've talked about this before. I couldn't tell you. There's a lot of younger fans now because Notre Dame went 11-2, 10-2, 11-2, 12-1, 10-3 before 2016. They're on the precipice of something great. Am I wrong in saying that?
Yeah, correct. I mean
Since
you
2012,
are, yeah.
12-1, 9-4, 8-5, 10-3, 1-4-8 year than what I just read to you. So if you
We've been on the ascendancy.
If you were born in 2000, you've seen a 3-9 year, but you're 7 years old, 6 years old, you're not paying attention to football that closely. Your formative fandom years were when Notre Dame was in a national championship, when they were in a CFC
Fiesta
playoff,
Bowl,
when they were in a Fiesta, all this different stuff. Like, since 2012, they've been in a BCS championship. They won a Pinstripe Bowl. They won the Music City Bowl. They played in the Fiesta Bowl. They won the Citrus Bowl. They lost in the Cotton Bowl. They won the Camping World Bowl. They lost in the Rose Bowl. And they lost in the Fiesta Bowl. My fandom, Stephen, my fandom started with
just a little bit more tumultuous.
With Bob Davie. I'm 31 years old. You're 32 years old. Correct. We're just going to get that out there. And everyone on the internet, none of them are listening to this. So I'm just going to yell into an empty room here. Oh, you must be 15 years old having this. Are we 15 years old? No, we're not. We are adults. We have 401ks and potentially pension plans. We know what we're talking about. We've seen shit. I've seen Bob Davie coach. 1999 was the first year I understood football. But I also came from a football-obsessed household. I was 8 years old. They went 5-7. 2000, they went 9-3. Lost in the Fiesta Bowl. 2001, they went 5-6. They fired Bob Davie and brought in Tyrone Willingham. Tyrone Willingham was going to bring us back to glory. He wrote a book about it. 10-3, 5-7, 6-6, fired. And then in my formative high school years, 2005 through 2009, I had to put up with Charlie.
2004 was the year that I got into my fandom. 2003, 2004.
So we've seen some stuff. We had to deal with Charlie Weiss and his decided schematic advantage. And I had to put up with that throughout middle school and throughout high school. A 3-9 year, a 7-6 year, a 6-6 year, and then an 8-5 year. I got an 8-5 year when I went to college, my second year of college.
Yeah, that was Jimmy Clausen and Golden Tate going off in the Hawaii Bowl, right?
That's when they won the Sun Bowl. The Hawaii Bowl was 2008 when they went 7-6.
Ah, ooh. So we were increasing year after year.
So people were the crux of my conversation here is that new fans, the fans on Twitter who are spouting off at the mouth and having Twitter fingers, they're the ones who started watching in 2012. They're the ones who started watching when Notre Dame was good. And they can't take the losses. Notre Dame's still above 500. And then you have the older fans who were there for the national championship with Lou Holtz. That were there through the Jerry Faust years. Were there potentially for the Dan Devine years. Even my grandpa was a fan during the Ara Parseghian years. So, they have more of a leg to stand on when I listen to these complaints than these new age fans do, who've only seen Brian Kelly. There's an argument right there. Look at the past before you start judging the present. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, I mean, on the flip side of it, it's the people who are older saying, "Oh, we'll never be good again. We'll never be good again." It's just like, all right, come on, dude. We're obviously going to be fine. It's a transition season. We've talked about this ad nauseum. We've talked about, the difference in recruiting and everything. And, Freeman just kind of getting into his own and becoming his own. Again, we have him a little bit too early, but I'd rather have him too early than too late. Because if you get him when it's too late, or you're not going to get him when it's too late, because Marcus Freeman would be leading another team to the playoffs within the next 5 years if he was not at Notre Dame. So do you want him now or not? So yeah, we're going through transition. Of course, we're going to have some things that we're going to have to adapt to in regards to recruiting and talent and all that sort of stuff as compared to like the 1970s. Things have changed just a little bit, and just in case you were wondering. But also simultaneously, it's like you can't expect a 2017 through 2020 run to last in perpetuity. You know, I thought that we were kind of, a little bit past that. Obviously, I was proven wrong. I think that we can kind of take the next step to get into a really, really competitive position to the point where we're probably not going to see one of these seasons going forward in a couple of years once we get all the talent on campus. But in the here and now, in reality, it's still an incredibly good and incredibly talented football team. There's just a couple of noticeable holes that they're currently working around. So it's not always going to be terrible. It's going to get better. It's going to be fine. And also, there for the people like you said, it never was all roses and unicorns and I don't know, like rainbows. Like it's the life is tough as a Notre Dame fan. If you're not ready to embrace that, get out now.
Yeah,
literally just get out. Just stop watching the team. Yeah, because like if you're looking for like a nice easy fandom, like boy do I have some fucking news for you. You might want to sit down before I give you this news because you're not gonna like it. So I would like to wrap a bow on it. Like this is what 3-4 weeks in a row we have to make mention of fans like having a mental breakdown, and I would rather focus on the happy and the positive.
Yeah, but we have to, because we almost are like the voice of reason for a lot of the people who listen to us. So shout out Big Al again.
Facts.
So we could talk about UNLV. They won the game. Audrey Estime fumbled. Whatever. They won the first down battle. They won the time of possession. It was a very quick game as opposed to the Texas game, which went on forever. Was it a quick game? No, it was a long game. The game felt like it took forever because of all the scores.
For Notre Dame or for Texas?
For us. Yeah, I feel like this was a longer game because of all the points.
Potentially. I don't know. I was streaming on my phone as I was walking around Portland, Maine. It took the wife up for her birthday weekend, but she obviously knows that her birthday does not come in the way of Notre Dame football. Like, there's a trade-off there. So we negotiated. And when I say negotiate, I mean, I just watched the game and, kind of just, I got yelled at. Okay.
I watched the game alone in my basement.
That sounds magnificent.
Dylan's in Ireland. You're walking around Maine with it on your phone. I had to suffer in silence in the group chat. So thank me later. But I was thinking, because I was alone with my thoughts, about the middle eight. Historically, people are saying on Reddit, which is the worst place for Notre Dame football, and On3 and all these other places, that the middle eight Notre Dame's struggling with. And I said, is this really true? There were some EPA numbers, but they didn't really show anything because it's a messy time frame. So I crunched some numbers here. Notre Dame has outscored its opponent in the middle eight the last 4 minutes of the second quarter and first 4 minutes of the third quarter, 45-6, with 5 shutouts. 2 field goals were made in that entire time frame. Notre Dame's run the ball for 232 yards, 46 rushes. They've passed the ball 49 times, completing 30 of them for 299 yards. They punted away 4 times and they kicked 2 field goals. 1 was made and unfortunately 1 was missed. Opponents. They've run 27 times for 177 yards. They've passed the ball 44 times, completing 21 for 180 yards. They've punted the ball away 5 times. They made 2 field goals and missed 1. That's pretty good for ND.
Pretty dominant.
So it's not the middle 8. Could be the first 15. Could be the last 15. Overall, the middle 8 isn't the problem. Notre Dame just has to start the game strong and finish the game strong. It just needs to be more consistent overall.
Yeah, basically. I mean, they did have a hot start in this one. Obviously, the Audric Estime touchdown to open the game. Then they cooled off a little bit, and and then they finished strong, like I mentioned before. With scoring touchdowns on the final 2 possessions of the game. So I would love. I mean, if against Syracuse we can score a touchdown on the opening drive and then also the 2 closing drives of the game, I'll tell you right now we're going to stand a pretty damn good chance to win against Syracuse if just on those 3 drives alone we can score. So, but yeah, I mean it's. I'm a little bit concerned in regards to how much we've been keeping Chris Tyree off the field. I'm a little bit concerned in regards to some of the fumbles. I'm a little bit concerned in regards to the seems like Pine sometimes has the biggest set of balls and will when he sees Mayer going, like he immediately locks in on him and will engage and throw a dart. But the second that Mayer's not open, Pine will kind of freak out and run around. But so trust me, I have plenty of qualms. I have plenty of things that I would change or be upset about. And the team is not impervious to criticism. But yet again, we won by 23 points, and we're just basically dominating them throughout. So I don't know. I just enjoy it. Just be happy about a win. I think is the best and most succinct way that we can kind of wrap up all the UNLV talk.
Yeah. So they won. Syracuse is next. We'll talk about that in a moment. But we do have some questions from our loyal listeners. Just running down the list here. I haven't read these before, so this is the first reaction. Just a fun what if you have time. Oh, do we ever? How do we get Michael Mayer to stay? You don't. Go to that.
Not happening.
Make your money. Well, that was easy. Hughes usually hands out these lame-ass orange pins to people when they walk in. Last time I went to an ND b-ball game there, they said Notre lame, which was pretty lame itself. What would yours say? One for Hughes and one for Notre Dame.
It's a lanyard?
It's a pin, I guess. Because
a pin?
That's stupid.
Mine would say I drove to upstate New York and all I got was the stupid fucking pin.
I was trying to say the same thing. I drove 5 hours to Western New York and I got this fucking pin.
Oh, God.
We've been doing this for too long. We have parallel thinking.
Yeah, for sure.
I might have to make that pin.
Yeah, see if you can get it custom ordered on Amazon and shipped out within 2 days, right?
Get it in bright orange. I'll have to call my guy. Just beat USC for the love of touchdown Jesus. Oh, this is a fun one. MFK. Which you know what it means, but it's stay with one forever, stay with one temporarily, don't be with one ever, to evade our censors. Reese's offense, Diaco's defense, Van Gorder's defense.
Okay, so it's Reese's offense, Van Gorder, and Diaco.
Yeah.
I'm going to F Diaco's defense.
Agreed.
Because it was frisky. It was also a complete disaster, but also frisky. I'm going to kill Van Gorder's defense, and I will marry Tommy's offense.
We're 2 for 2 in agreement, right? 3 for 3 for questions right now, so we agree with all of these.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember when Dino Babers kicked a field goal down 36 points?
We were there. We saw it live, and we booed.
Boo. Okay. As you know, the Twitterverse has been very critical of Reese's play calling, you think? And is his coordinating role really in jeopardy? And if he is able to drum something up on offense to get an upset win over... It's... Why is it an upset win? Because of the record? Because one of them's ranked and one of them isn't? I hate that. Get an upset win over SC or Clemson in November. Will that silence the critics or save his job?
Can't speak as to whether or not his job is in jeopardy. Objectively, a lot of these players are not really his guys. They are from the past regime. He's just kind of dealing with the pieces that he has. Also, there's still been a lot of question marks, and I think that we're seeing a young coordinator really come into his own and make his way through a full season as the guy in charge with the reins, making every decision and every call. So just as you would expect a true freshman to have some, to come onto the field and make some awesome plays, but also make some mistakes, like Tobias Merriweather, you also expect that it's going to take a project for him to grow. So I think that Reese does have a good future. Whether or not he is the right guy for Notre Dame at this exact moment in time, I'm not going to make that decision. I'm going to leave that up to my good pal, Marcus. I'm going to let him make that decision. Mainly because he gets paid millions of dollars to do that, and I get paid $0 to make that decision. And then in regards to when we upset both Clemson and USC, I think that's going to make people maybe take a step back from the ledge, because that's just going to happen.
Yeah, and I want it on record here. We are no longer fielding questions about Reese's tenure. Tommy Reese is the offensive coordinator. But done. I'm done talking about if he's going to get fired. Abigail, this is her second question here. Why aren't more people talking about Chancey Stuckey and his potential inability? It's his first year as the coordinator. It's not like he's a wide receiver guru telling them to walk up a mountain and catch footballs. It's his first year. We're not talking about it because we don't fucking know, Abby. None of us know. We're not in the room with them. Chancey Stuckey is a good coach. He wasn't brought to Notre Dame to suck.
Yeah,
if you have a question about why we can't develop people, talk to someone else. We're not going to answer these questions anymore. They're just getting to the point where I'm in Massachusetts. Steve's in northern Massachusetts. We are so far away removed from the locker room at Notre Dame. We don't know.
Listen, I mean,
sorry.
No, of course
it's me, Steve.
No, I get it. I understand. I don't know the exact question. I just know it basically has to do with Chancey Stuckey and the wide receivers and everything. It's just
Chancey Stuckey. Yeah,
he's got 5 scholarship wide receivers to work with. It's you're dealing with what you have. You have Avery Davis, your super senior leader, blow his ACL. 2 weeks before the season.
Yep.
It's an adjustment. Things happen, injuries happen. It's football. Tom Brady once blew an ACL and missed an entire season. And the team still went 11-5, but that's neither here nor there. It's the fact that sometimes the best teams just don't end up having the best seasons because of injuries or other factors, and whether or not that has an effect on the development, or some guys are just being cast into the light way too soon. I don't know. I was a damn good wide receiver in college flag football, but when it comes to being a wide receiver at the Division I level, I don't have any insight.
It's aggravating. All right, we're done with questions.
But seriously, look into my eyes right now. I was a dominant wide receiver in flag football. I would average 9 catches for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns every game. Randy Moss level type shit. Dominant. Next question.
I got a scholarship to play college football. Just throwing it out there. Anyway, those are our questions. Half of them sucked. I'm gonna publicly shame you guys right now. You ask better questions.
Be nice.
If they can be mean to us, Steve, I can be mean to them. So let's talk about Syracuse. Do you have anything to say about UNLV or our fans before I do this?
Everyone just be grateful. UNLV, you tried.
Syracuse home of the Orange, playing in the Carrier Dome, now the JMA Wireless Dome. Steve, our favorite question every week: how many students are enrolled in Syracuse?
41,000.
21,772.
That's what I said.
3-7 versus Notre Dame. And everyone's favorite, alumni. Multiple people from my high school. A kid who was my best friend in high school was Otto the Orange for 4 years. He then went on to be Goofy at Disney World. Maybe he'll be there this weekend. Let's see. Half of the Chainsmokers. Marv Albert. No comment about Marv Albert. Dick Clark, ever heard of him? Quadri Ismail, Rocket's brother.
Ooh.
And Winston Schmidt and Nick Miller from New Girl.
I'm told I look exactly like Nick.
I've been told I look like Kevin James, so that's something. Jerry Stiller also from, he's an actor and comedian, Ben Stiller's father.
Nice.
That's
nobody else.
That's pretty much it. I'm sure there's some important people who went there, but these are the important people in my eyes. Syracuse, they're good. They're ranked 16th in the nation, just lost to Clemson. Garrett Schrader, I've been saying from the beginning of the year, he is terrifying. Sean Tucker, also terrifying. And Aronde Gadsden II, very good. Their defense is good against the pass. They're not good against the run, and we got 3 running backs who can run the ball. They're 26th in the nation in yards per play, 13th in yards per average, and 14th in red zone scoring because they have Sean Tucker. Sean Tucker is a Heisman candidate, and Garrett Schrader printed money for the first 5 weeks of the season. His passing overs, Vegas just couldn't figure him out. So he is probably one of the best passers in the country. I'm very high on him. I normally don't use this time to compliment our opponents, but I do like Schrader and Tucker a lot. I've watched every single Syracuse game this year.
Interesting. I would never do that in my life, but hey, someone had to do it, and you took up.
If you're going to be on a business trip, you take your notes.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, in regards to the team, and they played well. Started pretty hot against Clemson. They were out to what, like a 21-10 lead or something.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, ultimately fizzled out. And hey, a true freshman quarterback kind of just diced them up in the second half of that game to come back. And they were blanked in the second half. So you want to talk about a team with a finishing problem. Syracuse was right there themselves. So, we're 2.5-point underdogs right now, as it states on ESPN. And I'm not sure, what everyone is getting their bets in at, but it's probably going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 3. And that's because, Syracuse is on home field, so they're automatically going to get 3 points, what you assume. So basically, Vegas is calling this Notre Dame favored by half a point or basically a push. So they're saying it's effectively a 50-50 game in their mind.
I'm seeing everywhere. Opened at 4.5 on one book. Opened on Circa, Notre Dame favored by 3. I don't know if that was right. I think that was wrong, to be honest with you. Because Circa shouldn't flip the line that much. Right now, it looks like 2.5 is where the line's settling at. But it's also, Tuesday? It's Tuesday. You can get 3 at FanDuel. So if you use FanDuel, get Notre Dame plus 3. We're also seeing the total at right now it opened at 54.5. They bet it down to 47.5. So that's interesting.
I wouldn't doubt to see the under hit in this game, and I wouldn't doubt to see the Irish pull off, a 1 possession win. What are the keys to the game? What do you want to see? Or what would I like to see? Obviously, it's going to start with dominating the trenches on offense and defense. Like you mentioned, they're not that great against the run, so our hog molly's really got to push the pile, push the line of scrimmage, and get that line of scrimmage 3-4 yards upfield before our running backs are even getting contact on them. I'd love to see a nice, 6 yards per carry average as a team in this game, and just take the pressure off of Pine, get those big first down yards. If it's 2nd and 4, it just opens up the whole playbook. So I really hope that they can dominate the line of scrimmage on the on both sides of the ball, because ultimately we have been susceptible to big runs, although we stuff a lot of runs. And we're pretty damn good run defense. We're also inconsistent and we'll occasionally give up the big one. So I'd prefer to have to force them to pass, just because I think that our secondary is really talented and can start getting some takeaways, because we're absolutely due. And also, as we saw, there's that guy on the defensive end position. He wears number 7. He's kind of fucking incredible. So I would like to see him continue to eat lunches all day long. And then the other key to the game that I really want to see is I want to see Drew Pine hitting wide receivers. Of course, I want Michael Mayer to have his 7 catches for 120 yards and a touchdown or 2 touchdowns. Yeah, of course. Absolutely. I love Michael Mayer. Wish he would stay, but he's not going to. Go make your millions, young man. But we need to see Jaden Thomas get, 5 or 6 attempts his way. Same with Braden Lenzy. If he can get a couple of crossing routes underneath, if you can find Braden Lenzy in space, you're really going to open up the field, because that kid can just absolutely book it. He's really struggling with contested catches this year. So, if they can get a couple of dump offs to Lenzy in space and let him run and speed through the defense, that'd be fantastic. But yeah, just in general, wide receivers need to get the ball. We need to get the ball out on the boundaries, outside the hash marks, open up the field, because if we can keep the corners and the safeties outside of the box, it's going to open up the run game to have Estime and Diggs and Tyree just, basically close this thing out. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. Is there anything in general that you're going to, that you're seeing, or what your wish list would be?
Yeah, it's to pressure Garrett Schrader. The Syracuse offensive line's not good at protecting him. He's efficient if he has time. Don't let him have time. That's the biggest thing I would say. And then from there, find a corner, find a safety who can guard OG2. He's their most explosive receiver. So just bracket him. Win the turnover battle, like you said. Sean Tucker, make him run inside the box. Hit him a couple times. He might be injured. He only had 5 runs against Clemson. And I don't think it was the game plan to run their quarterback as much as they did. So something to watch out for there. And then just controlled clock. Run the ball, score some touchdowns. I think the over hits, but I think it hits because of a couple of big plays late in the game. But I do think if they're forced to sell out to stop the run, then a pass is going to be open. Play action passes. Little fun numbers for you right now. You ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Before Syracuse played Widener, I'm not counting Widener as a game in this stat here. The first 4 games of the season, the first quarter, they scored 40 points. After Widener, they scored 14. The second quarter, pre-Widener, PW, they scored 23. Post-Widener, also PW, they've scored 17. Pre-Widener, in the third quarter, they've scored 24. After Widener, AW, they've scored 7. Pre-Widener, in the fourth quarter, they've scored, this math is hard here, 46. And one of them was 22 points against Purdue. Post-Widener, they've scored 7. Their offense might be good, but against NC State and against Clemson, they're only putting up 14, 17, 7, and 7. Notre Dame is more like Clemson and NC State than they are like Purdue, Louisville, UConn.
That's an excellent statement that I agree wholeheartedly with, and that's actually a great juxtaposition of teams get so inflated and people think that they're so talented just because they beat up on the bad teams. And yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a part of my heart that's ripped out of me because this should be a 5-1 Notre Dame football team that's at the very least ranked in the top 12 at the moment, possibly top 7. So it really sucks to see us currently on the outside looking in, but that's where we should be. There's just been some things that haven't exactly clicked, but like that's what the expectation would be. So like Notre Dame, like you mentioned, to accentuate your point, they are way more closer to Clemson than they would be at Purdue. And Purdue is a decent program. I'd say they're probably ranked anywhere between 25 to 35 in the country in any given year. They're a decent program, but it's still far and away. There's a massive difference between ND and Purdue.
Yeah, and I'm trying to make this point very poignant here. Syracuse is good. I'll give them that. But Syracuse is not great. Syracuse's remaining schedule. And I'm saying Syracuse a whole bunch here, but I don't care. I want you all to understand who we are playing on Saturday. If I have to drive 5 hours to Western New York. Syracuse football playing, obviously, Notre Dame. Then they have Pitt, Florida State, Wake Forest, number 10 in the nation, and then Boston College. Do you think their fans are saying, oh, we're not going to win another game? No, because they lost to Clemson. Syracuse can compete in all these games, and I think because of their loss to Clemson, reeling in that loss, Notre Dame is now, I don't want to say a trap game because everyone's Super Bowl is Notre Dame, but it's a game where it's sandwiched between an ACC rival and an ACC rival. And I don't know if it's a look ahead. I don't know the right word that I'm looking for here. But Syracuse is in a letdown spot, having their orange out, having everything. It's Halloween weekend. Could the players be thinking something differently here? Maybe. So I think there is, I don't want to say upset potential because it's not an upset when Notre Dame's going to win, but it is there for Notre Dame's taking right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think that Notre Dame should be. You should go into this game with the expectation that there's at least a 50% chance that Notre Dame wins. I think that chance is higher than 50%, but even if you want to go on the conservative side. But yeah, I mean, this would be because we've already beat UNC, and if we beat Syracuse, that means we would be 6-4 with 2 ranked wins, right? So like Notre Dame is a legit team. I understand people are down on them, but you got to have a little bit more faith, and I just think that good things are coming. Good things come to those who wait, and just wait, hold off your judgment, wait, let it happen, let this team show their adversity.
Now, I do have one concern. We're playing indoors, correct?
This would be at the Carrier Dome. That's correct.
So the JMA Wireless Dome can fit 49,000 fans. That's a ton of fans. It's double the size of the school. They have this Jumbotron. Okay? It has a Jumbotron. It's mounted with a logo 13 feet long. It's suspended in the air. So the suspension system, I don't know how high it is, and I'm looking for that number right now. But I'm afraid John Sott's going to punt the ball through the Jumbotron.
Very real possibility that he does.
Now,
there's also a very real possibility that John Sott never has to actually punt in this game.
I just want one punt. Just give me one punt, John. That's all I'm looking for. If I'm John, if I'm Turbofoot, Bryce McPherson, in pregame, do I just go out there and try to hit the Jumbotron just to set the tone?
You might as well.
Yeah, why not? So, that's my big worry. What happens if he hits it? guess we'll find out. Does it turn into a fumble? Who knows? So if anyone knows what happens if a punt hits the Jumbotron, let us know. And if you're this far into our recording, thank you. So keys to the game we talked about. I'm excited. First time in the Dome. As a New Yorker, everyone wanted to get to. That's where we played our state championship. As a coach, I made it to the section final 3 times and lost each time. You do something different over in Rhode Island, Steve. But it was always to get to the Dome. I lost in the section final as a player once and 3 times as a coach. This will be my first time there, and it means something to finally see the inside of that place. Because a year after I left this school that will remain nameless, they made it to state. So there's that. I don't have much more analysis. I'm excited for the weekend. I cheer for the punter merch, potentially on sale soon. Who knows if John makes it to the NFL? We're gonna have to talk to Candace and Mike about that. But overall, it's game week. It's time to go. There's nothing else to do but put my undefeated record on the line and say, hey, what can I do to beat the Orangemen?
Perfect. Yep. And, I was listening to a song before this as I was cooking dinner, and this is my closing thoughts. Just because I'm feeling a little bit silly on the pod. And sometimes you just got to get a little silly. But I was listening to, my 90s rock radio because that's just the old man that I am at this point. By the way, if you really want to fuck up your night, we're closer, or 1990s of today is the 1960s of when we were growing up. So just, let that simmer in your brain. But the song Tub Thumping by Chumbawamba came on. And it got me thinking that you got to love the resilience of that song, because even though they got knocked down, they kept getting back up again, and you were never going to keep them down. And I think that
and they got up again. You were never going to keep them down.
You were never going to do it. They just kept getting back up. And I think that's what Notre Dame needs to do. Just keep getting back up, keep fighting, go Irish.
Pissing the night away. Go Irish, beat Orange.